Good afternoon. My name is Jim Conlan, and welcome to our latest part of our entertainment show. As you know, in part 3 of our entertainment show each week, we run a special series called Into the Vault, and this looks at movies throughout the decades, whether it's an 80s cowboy movie, maybe it's 90s detective sort of movie adventure, maybe it's a 2020 futuristic a movie, maybe it's a 21st century romance and love story. So we look at back through all the generations, through all the decades, through all the teams in terms of movies, and we featured some classic movies throughout our time. We've featured some runners in terms of movies that have grown in popularity over the years, and we're featuring a special movie here now because it came out in 2022 and it's called Paradise City, but it's going to be remembered as Bruce Willis's last ever movie in terms of a spanned career, and it's the first time that Bruce Willis and John Travolta have appeared in a movie in over 30 years together since Pulp Fiction in 1994. It's called Paradise City. It features a cast of Priya Lundberg, Bruce Willis, John Travolta, Stephen Dorff, Amber Ambara, Noel Gigliami, and our special guest this evening, she plays the role of Nikki in Paradise City, the one and only Kate Katzman. And Kate, first of all, hi, and I love the sort of smile and the enthusiasm and the wave, and to be synopsis, to be in the what people will dubbed Bruce Willis's final ever movie, and for you to sort of feature in that. First of all, I suppose you're delighted about your own role and parts of that, but people will remember this movie in time, in decades, to say that this is Bruce Willis's last adventure, and you got to star not only alongside him but John Travolta as well. And how eye-catching was that? Did you know at the time that they were attached to the project?
I did, yes. It always is super amazing to work with people that you grew up idolizing and seeing on film. So, you know, both men are people that I've watched growing up and just really admired. So getting to work with them was fantastic.
And tell us a bit about your character, Nikki, in terms of Paradise City, because we know it's a son on a revenge mission for his father. We know there's Travolta plays the villain in terms of this sort of movie, and it goes through all the hunt through Hawaii, which we call Paradise Island, in terms of seeking out revenge, seeking out redemption, seeking out the people to pay for this sort of bloodthirst, this sort of hatred that's there. And you might enlighten us where Nikki comes involved. Is Nikki on the side of Bruce Willis, or is she on terms of John Travolta, or how does she find herself mixed in, dare I say, in all this meddling?
Well, Nikki is a nightclub owner in Hawaii, and so she knows the scoop on everyone. And when all this comes about, they go looking for some answers as to what's going on, and Nikki always has the inside scoop. And she has a great heart and a great, personality, so she helps them out to try to piece together what's going on.
So dare I say, is Nikki sort of, she's not ratting out sort of people, but dare I say, if there's a story to be told, or if there's dare I say, voices in sort of the street, that they all come full circle, and she's probably the first one to start to hear about. So is she a confidant? Is she a good source of, dare I say, information?
Absolutely. She knows all of the scoop on everyone.
And tell me, in terms of auditioning for this role, Kate, in terms of landing sort of this role, was this role movie project, did it come together after COVID, or did the initial audition processes happen during COVID towards the latter end? And how did you come about landing this sort of role? Was it a long, rigorous audition sort of process?
It was right in the middle of COVID, so everything is done virtually as far as auditions go. So it was a lot of virtual back and forth. And then, when I did finally get the role, it was shot in Hawaii. And of course, everything is very isolated, and they kept you very, within your own little bubble due to COVID and strict testing and everything. But we made it through.
And Kate, in terms of working with Chuck Russell, the sort of director, what was his envision? What did he wanted to bring Nikki in terms of on set, in terms of this movie, giving her that sort of vibe? What did he say to you in terms of that sort of character that you wanted to portray? Was it a fierce, sort of feisty sort of woman, a sort of foxy sort of owner with a glam, a bit of sex appeal running through? Was that what he was looking for?
Absolutely, you nailed it all. And that's exactly what he was looking for. And Chuck Russell is an amazing director. He, is so nice to work with, and he had a great vision for my character Nikki to be very fun and upbeat, and just a great source of information for the whole crew.
Apologies. And Kate, in terms of shooting the movie, in terms of start to production, was it a 6 to 8 week wrap? You mentioned they're shooting in Hawaii, and there was a bit of scene shot in Savannah, Georgia as well, I do believe, in terms of this movie as well. And was it a long shoot from start to finish? Were there long days, or how was your role? Were you only there for a specific amount of time?
So believe it or not, during COVID, a lot of films really tightened their filming schedule. So this movie, I believe, if I remember correctly, was about a 2-week shoot. And that's like 2 weeks to do everything. So the entire movie is shot during those 2 weeks. So if anything comes up, if there's any like delays, it really throws everything off. I was there for a good bit of time, part of the time working, part of the time not, but just they really tried to put in as much as possible into a short time window because of all the extra restrictions due to COVID. But surprisingly enough, we got it done.
And Kate, were you cordoned off in terms of the production, in terms of Hawaii, from the time you landed in? Was it known that you were sort of shooting in the movie in terms of COVID? Obviously, that sort of time with Hawaii, it's a sort of an island and sort of such, were there certain restrictions? Was it a case of just going from hotel room to location shooting, back to hotel room for those sorts of 2 weeks? Was there any bit of time really to enjoy any bit of Hawaii, dare I say, or did you get to bring any family or loved ones with you, or was it particularly 2 weeks shooting and in a hotel room and then on set? And then
it was mostly shooting and then back to the hotel and so on and so forth. But I did have a few days off where I did get to go and explore the island, which is just absolutely beautiful. And I did have some family meet me there, which was great. I knew my shooting schedule ahead of time. So the days that I was not going to be shooting, I got them to come out. We got to tour around and enjoy the beautiful scenery.
And Kate, did you get to interact much with John Travolta, with Bruce Willis in between sorts of takes? Did you get to spend a bit of time with them? And what was that? Did they give you any tips, any sort of pointers, any sort of advice? Or did you just keep it to general sort of day-to-day life sort of conversation in terms of talking about families and loved ones and just general stuff, really? Was it much not really talking about movies or the industry when you weren't on set?
A little bit of everything, but I mean, they both were amazing. John Travolta is just a super, super nice guy, super down to earth. I spent a lot of time talking with him, and he just, was such an incredible, talented guy in, so many ways. And we were talking about his planes and everything. He's such a neat guy. And then with Bruce Willis, it was great getting to see him. You could tell he was having difficulties, which was very sad. Growing up watching him on the big screen, he was always like my favorite. I absolutely just adored Bruce Willis in all of his movies. And so to see him struggling with something like this is just very, very sad.
You mentioned that, and I don't want to delve too much into it in terms of taking away from the movie and taking away from your involvement in it. But was it a struggle for him sometimes to remember lines and sort of stuff like that, and sort of be able to get him within the normal first take or first shoot or second shoot like he was normally able to do? Was it taking him much longer for him to complete scenes on set?
Yes, it definitely was. a lot more difficult, and it wasn't something that the whole crew was really aware of beforehand. So changes had to kind of be made on the spot, which impacted the shooting schedule. But, you know, you could tell he was struggling, and it just feels so bad because he just seems like the nicest guy. And I wish him, nothing but health and, good fortune going forward. I hope he can get some rest and enjoy his family.
And Kate, in terms of its premiere when it came out in November, and to much anticipation in the terms of the United States, and obviously it got released later here on VOD in terms of video on demand here in Ireland and the UK as well. In terms of what was it like for you? Was it a hectic time in terms of the premiere of the movie, in terms of reaction? And did it sort of, I know you've been involved in other projects and successful projects in the past, but was this sort of real sort of a blossoming time? Was it sort of frantic with all the frenzy around the movie and all the media activity?
I wouldn't say overly so. It basically came out and went directly to video, so we didn't have the big premiere per se. But of course, there's always more interviews and stuff that comes up whenever a new project comes out. But with the way things are now and the way video is, and there's not as many things going to theaters, it's kind of changed the way things premiere.
And Kate, I mentioned John and Bruce, but we have to mention some of the other cast members as well. Stephen Dorff and Noel Gigliami. What was your interactions like with them? Noel has so many successful projects to his name, well sort of revered in the industry. And Stephen Dorff, a constant pro. Did you enjoy spending your time with them and interacting with them as well?
Oh, absolutely. Amazing actors, and you always just learn so much. And to see these people on set and how professional they are and how seriously they take their work, it's really, really great.
And Kate, I do believe you have Irish blood in you, Irish ancestry, and you've been to Ireland a few times in the past, and you visited the western part of Ireland as well. And you might enlighten all our audience and our listeners maybe about your Irish connections, and maybe a fun story or fun memory from your time of being in Ireland in the past that is unique and special to you.
Perfect. Yes. My family is originally from County Mayo, and so we've been out a few times, to visit and go through our ancestral roots. But one time I took my now husband to Ireland, and I remember telling him how the Irish people are the nicest people that there are, period. And he kind of fought me on it. He was like, well, I've been to Japan, and the Japanese people are really nice too. Like, they really make a big fuss for you. So literally, when we got to Ireland, we had just gotten off the plane, we were driving to our hotel, and we didn't know where we were going. And so he pulled down his window and asked the car next to him, like, do you know where this hotel is? And they're like, oh my gosh, you're going the wrong way, follow me. And they took off way out of the way, like a 15-minute drive out of the way, and drove us right to the front steps of our hotel. And my husband was like, oh my gosh, you're right, the nicest people ever. And that was just like the first part of our trip. Everywhere you go, everyone is so just fabulous and goes out of their way to make you feel welcome. So we thoroughly enjoy spending time there.
Yeah, and Kate, I do believe it's not without giving away, it's an ambition of yours sometime, hopefully, please God, in the near future, to film a project here in Ireland, and hopefully that does come to pass for you.
Absolutely, I would love to. That would be a dream come true to get to film in Ireland. There's so many amazing projects being done there, and so keeping in my prayers that that comes to be.
And Kate, I might turn it over to you now for the final 30 seconds for the people who haven't seen Paradise City, who haven't been able to catch up on the sort of that crusade sort of mission that does sort of take place. You might enlighten all our audience, all our listeners, what Paradise City is about and why they should try and get it on video on demand, and what's in store for them.
Absolutely. Paradise City is a really fun movie. It's very reminiscent of like the 90s action movies, which, you know, something I grew up on. So I love seeing it. Has beautiful scenery, takes place in Hawaii, amazing actors, you know, fast-paced story. So I think it's something, there's something in it for everyone. And, you know, I really enjoyed making it. And I hope everyone takes the time to check it out.
On that note, Kate Katzman, for me, Jim Conlan, a pleasure speaking to you on the airwaves this evening to premiere Paradise City, the final ever movie of Bruce Willis, reinventing Bruce Willis and John Travolta for over 30 years on from Pulp Fiction in 1994. You played a prominent role in this, Kate. You'll always go down remembered for being involved in that sort of project alongside Noel Guglielmi, Stephen Dorff. You played the wonderful Nikki, the nightlife owner. We wish you all the best in your future projects, endeavors. Hopefully, please God, fingers crossed, you'll get to shoot to us in Ireland in the near future. And if you do, please God, reach out to us again, and we'll definitely make that work, and we'll give it lots of promotion and sort of airtime. But from the moment, from me, Jim Conlan, to you, Kate Katzman, stay safe, take care, and God bless.
Thank you so much. Thank you.